And now it's time for Getting Real Cleveland. And I am your host, the host with the most, Doug Duke. That's right, I am back, aka the self-proclaimed greatest influencer in the world. I'm taking the title back. I'm not second anymore. And I am here with my co-host, Mr. Cleveland Film, Mike Wendt. How we doing?
I'm doing great, Doug. Can't wait to
Great.
talk about this film.
Hell yeah, great, because he just finished it. And we are here with writer, director, producer, most importantly, my buddy, Joshua B. Porter. How you doing, man?
Good, brother. It's great to be on with you, man. It's a true pleasure. It's always great to see your beautiful face, and it's nice to meet Mike's beautiful face.
Look at that.
It's good to
Oh,
be here.
yeah, man. Nice already. Look at it. It's nice already. Look at all the love already.
Now,
Um,
it's until he tells me what he thinks of the damn movie, and then this might go down the drain real fast, but that's okay.
do you have a secret whiskey below you that we don't know about?
No, you know what? See, I was getting back here as fast as I could, and I just got an ice water, but this is the mug. You
Yes.
guys know Old Greg?
Nice. What is that from?
From
Why do I have one?
The Mighty Boosh from the
Oh,
UK. It's
that's right, the Mighty
dude. If
Boosh.
if you've never seen that skit, I'm gonna send it to you right afterwards. So that's
I
that's
have,
old Greg right there.
yeah, yeah. I actually have seen that, but yes, I'm not as well versed.
That's a shame. Now, does
Well,
that mean you have whiskey?
no, no, I
Oh,
don't.
okay.
I was just wondering, in case, you were gonna go off and snap. We're seeing what kind of levels we were gonna get at here today.
Yeah, I'm okay right now. Ice water, I guess,
That's
not
right.
ice gin.
Well, let's get into it. I don't have any physical media to show you or a ticket because watched it on Amazon Prime, as I think Mike did as well. And it's available there, obviously, right now. No Evidence of Man. Great fucking movie. It's available, Amazon Prime, and you can pre-order the Blu-ray already right now. So, and that's something I'm definitely going to do. Um, I love this movie, man. You know, a little preference is Mr. Porter here showed me this. I was just telling Mike this. Shit, what year was that? Was it 22 or
Yeah, I,
2022?
I was talking to some friends, actually people that produced the new film, Karen and Kevin. And I said I showed him an older version a while ago, and I was trying to think of when it was, and I'm like, might have been 3 years ago. I mean, that's how long the damn journey of this film would be. Some people thought, oh, you must have just showed it right when you started like cutting after shooting. No,
No.
we shot way longer than that, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, I think I showed you. It was still a pretty rough version, but it was all assembled. There's no effects. There was really temp music. Sound was terrible. But I feel like that was about 3 years ago. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah,
Maybe
that's what.
four if you think it was 22, but
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's what I told Mike. I was like, you came in for Eddie Vedder concert, so that's when we like linked up and hung out for a couple days.
it was
And
that Eddie Vedder concert right there.
oh, see,
That's
look
that's the
at
poster for the show. Yeah, yeah.
that. Well, turn your ass around. What date was that? No, but
Good point. That was February 17th. Boy, man, nice work. 2022. You're right.
holy shit. So I wasn't there.
Wow.
That's funny.
Well, I forgot that's what I was in town for. For some reason in my mind, I thought I showed it to you at a different point,
Yeah.
that I was in town, but I guess that was it, wasn't it?
And he caught a broken guitar neck.
Yeah, I don't have that out here, but that's in the office. Yeah. Andrew Watt, who's gone, I mean, who's already a big deal then, but Andrew Watt was playing guitar for Eddie Vedder. And
Yeah.
Andrew Watt has now gone on to revitalize so many bands and make such great albums. The Rolling Stones' last album, the New Stones album coming out this summer, Pearl Jam's new album, Paul McCartney's new record, which is really damn good. So that fretboard that I caught in the audience is from that. So thank you for letting me stand next to you guys.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, see, that was a great time. But anyway, he showed me the film, and so what I finally got to see now, the finished product. Honestly, well, outside of the graphics, obviously, because those weren't fully there. I still feel like it was pretty much the same cut, though. I
The cut is
didn't.
pretty. There might have been minor changes or
Yeah,
nip
yeah.
tucks, clips there and here,
But
but that was pretty much the version. I mean, that was pretty much the running time thing because
yeah,
I think it was about an hour, 30, 90 something minutes when you saw it. So
Yeah. And so I didn't really notice too much difference. To me, it was, pretty much the same story that I saw then that I was like, I looked at you at one point, I was like, dude, this is fucking great. I was like, this is,
yeah,
and it looks so gorgeous. Your cinematographer, please name him.
Paul Nordine.
Yeah, man.
He is
Incredible.
literally an award-winning cinematographer and a hell of a talent and a great man who
Yeah.
also did a lot of editing work on this. We had a few editors on this, as is with a lot of the journey of a lot of films, as you and Mike know. But over the course of a few years or several years, he also came in and kind of saved our ass in post-production with a lot of stuff too. So Paul Nordine is a multi-talented guy, and he deserves all the flowers he gets for this movie and other ones. It looks beautiful, and that's because of Paul.
Yeah, again, well deserved. And you guys obviously worked together wonderfully. I mean, you know, I, me and some more things to backtrack here. Me and Porter have known each other since what year did we go to film school?
Turn around and look at the poster in your
Oh.
office. Don't you have your diploma up? Come on, bud.
Uh,
That was a 2004 that we went,
Right.
right?
Yeah, it started then. So we met each other literally at film school. We went to the orientation thing. I remember getting drove around, and that's how I met you and our buddy, or I met him through you, Patrick Crowley, who I still talk to this day. Pat's worked
Hmm.
on all my movies till pretty much, this day as well.
Pat was
Um,
my roommate in film school.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But we just hit it off. My dumbass was clearly cracking jokes, and this guy's laughing, and then he's making me laugh, and look at us. That was 2004, and here we are in 2026.
Yeah, but you know what? To be fair, I don't know if Doug would say this, but to be fair, I was the guy in the class that was like just taking it so seriously. The pretend just douchebag was like, "This is serious business." Now, of course, during class and after hours for sure, we'd be cracking each other up. But I thought, it's such serious shit. But boy, I think I was just a little bit too serious. But thank God Doug was there to keep us all honest and to keep us all laughing.
Oh, well, that's nice to hear. I mean, sure, maybe, you had that in you, but, when you did shit with me, it was fucking ridiculous, and we had a very loose, ridiculous, fun time. I taught you many things like shit face and,
Yeah, we sure did. No, it's a classic. It's a classic. Yeah, but yeah, we were all a professional, mature, young men. There was never any shenanigans or anything like that.
we redid, one of the
I mean, do you have anything to follow that up with?
no. Oh yeah, there was no shenanigans. Nobody spider webbed a windshield one night when they were drunk. And it wasn't either one of us. It was another patron of
It was not.
it was our friend Barry.
Neither one of us got into a street fight with a vacuum. That wasn't either one of us either. So we
Neither
won't
way.
mention names.
But me and this guy did do a scene from Caddyshack that I ended up doing. We went verbatim of the improv scene of of Bill Murray and Ty Webb. It doesn't look as good, but I will say me and Porter had a pretty good time reliving
I
that.
think we're pretty good. We should see if Mike can guess who is who.
Yeah, I mean, Doug's probably Bill Murray, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. I was that asshole that nice guy Chevy Chase. Yeah.
Hey man, like I said, my Three Amigos thing. Hey, we all know the stories. We've all heard it. Grade A asshole, sure, whatever. You see that man on the silver screen, he kills every fucking
Absolutely.
time.
I mean, Fletch, come on, get out of here. Of
I
course.
know. Anyway, all of that was a long way always off, and that's what we're going to be doing here. But the point was, I saw all your early stuff, and then like even as we drifted apart or whatever, like we've always kept in contact. We were always like social. We got back together. I think it was like even in 2018 when we first really like linked back up for the first time. We met at Barney's, which was a place that we used to hang out a lot actually in our
Hmm.
first couple years in LA together. But anyway, again, all that is just a long story long to say of just, watching your progression of all your work and everything that I've seen to this feature now of No Evidence of Man. No Evidence of Man, everybody. Great fucking work, man. I'm so proud of you, man. Like super proud of you, man. For real.
I appreciate that, brother. And I appreciate the fact that we got back together in 2018 or whenever that was. I know it was before COVID.
Yeah.
But that was a big deal to me, and I'm really glad that we reconnected. And I remember actually when we sat there in your living room in Pasadena and watched that cut of No Evidence of Man and the nice things you said. Actually, meant a lot to me. It really did, because I know you always give it to me straight, what works or what doesn't. And just to be sitting with somebody that I went through that journey with, of school and all that, kind of, you know, giving like a, attaboy, actually was a really big deal. So I appreciate that.
Oh man, that's cool. That's nice to hear, man. And yeah, and then just like kind of for me to jump to the comparison of seeing the early cut to the final product now, like, and I was just kind of mentioning this to Mike because he just watched it. Like all the stuff, man, in the opening and just like all the technology, all the, like the world that we're living in. And I know this is like maybe in a, not so distant future or whatever, but man, congratulations like on all the final like graphics and like the special effects to nail everything. Like it's fucking great, man. Like, I mean, you were so bought into the world. It's so believable. It's so cool. I thought it was a lot of it's cool, and Michael have a little something to say because we were just talking about this. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's like so crazy to see all that, and then like this is the story you think you're gonna get, and then boom, man, what a fucking 180 for the rest of the movie, which is the point and the message of the film, which is why this is great. And we'll get into that a little more. I'd like to hear a little something from Mr. Cleveland Film to, like
Yeah.
you don't have the baggage that I have.
Right, right. No, no, as you were kind of alluding to, Doug, I thought it was gonna be like this kind of sci-fi futuristic kind of film, but then, because I did appreciate the, us being kind of ushered into that world, but then, yeah, as it went into this journey, I was really quite moved by by what happens, and I especially I think one of the texts I sent you, Doug, I was just like, what a fantastic ending. I was just like no notes, just seeing that shot, like that final shot that you got in that beautiful sunset that you got there. Like I don't know if that was manipulated or not, or if that was just all natural, but yeah, I mean it really it's like it's a nice swerve, to where you think it's going somewhere and it goes completely different.
I appreciate that, Mike. It's interesting. The first time we showed it to a crowd when it played at a festival down there in LA at the Golden State Film Festival, we were blessed enough to have it playing at the Man's Chinese Theater. It wasn't a huge crowd, but it was the first time it was shown in front of an audience. And that theater meant a lot to me. And I remember I always was really nervous about the fact that this was a very, very, very low budget slash micro budget production. And I thought there were certain aspects that maybe just wouldn't play very well. And some of the effects are kind of the near distant future. I didn't know if it would. And the first person that raised their hand in the Q&A afterwards talked about how they felt the dystopian kind of future really played to them. Which when I watch it, I see the things like we all do when we make films, that I'm seeing the things that aren't working. But to the audience or to that guy in particular, it really worked. And that stuff really worked for him as well. And he wanted to talk about that, which was like, thank goodness, like some of that plays for somebody. Like he's talking about how it kind of reminds him of some Blade Runner stuff, which it's nothing like that. But you get the point. The feeling story wise is where he was going. We didn't have, 2 cents to the dollar of what, of course, Blade Runner had even 50 years ago, 45 years ago. But I understood what he was saying, though. He was getting that kind of feel. And I'm glad he did, because we really wanted to kind of juxtapose that between when he gets out to nature. So I'm really glad that played for you. Obviously we can jump around, and if you don't want to, Doug, or you can, stop when you want to talk about something specific. But that shot at the end was actually like the last day of regular principal photography. And is for some reason that thing that happens at the end of that character was all shot in one day, all together, almost in order. And it
Wow.
was at the end of the day as the sun was going down when we got that final shot. No spoilers or anything, but when we got that final shot, the only manipulation is maybe a little bit of color grading to pump up certain aspects of that shot
Sure.
there. But that's the shot, and that's what he was looking at, and that was that time of day. So we got the film gods after an extremely, extremely difficult shoot. And I'm sure we'll get into some of that, did smile down on us and all our hard work that last day of shooting and gave us all that stuff.
Wow,
Oof.
man, that's
Yeah.
incredible. Like how beautiful that is for the point of the movie to have the beauty of the ending like
Yeah.
that. Like that actually played out in real life for you. That's incredible. But yeah, we are, whatever. We can jump to the ending, we can jump anywhere. Um, but I want to jump back.
Hmm.
Um, because I love a lot of the flashbacks too of with him with Geneva, right? Or
Genevieve, yeah.
Genevieve, sorry.
Genevieve, he called her Jen. No, you were
Yeah.
close. He called her Jen for short. Yeah.
Right.
But Genevieve is her full name. Yeah. With a G.
Yeah, and especially like one of the first dates or whatever when they're, in the graffiti area and then she sings that beautiful song. Um, no wonder, no wonder, like the you lose, you fumble the bag of someone like that is exactly the things you're gonna go through
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
this
I mean,
movie.
yeah.
She
And honestly, that's one thing we wanted to hit. Sorry to interrupt you, but that's one thing we wanted to hit was, um, well, I'll let you finish what you were going to say, and then I'm going to go back to kind of attach what I was thinking about that because there's a story there.
For sure. No, I mean, she's so lovely. She's beautiful. You know what I mean? It's, you see it on screen. It's so easy why you would fall in love with her. And then also she just has this beautiful spirit to her, which obviously he's the one that becomes kind of like the curmudgeon. And, and that's the whole point of the film is, you're so connected into everything, but yet you are disconnected with everything with your actual relationship to someone that loves you. But to jump back to that specific scene and like that flashback where they're like, it's fresh, so it's like really nice and they're having a good time, and she sings them that song. Just a great, beautiful scene in general. But the one thing that hit me when I was watching it last night was the camera work. And because they're kind of on the water, I wanted to ask you, I was like, I loved like it was almost like the camera was the water, like grabbing some of that coverage. Was that like your plan? Is like your thought of the shot or
Now, I love this question, and no one's asked this yet. I appreciate that. Okay, so here's a big story about that, specifically as far as kind of like technique and how we shot the scene. So originally, those two scenes where she first meets him, even though they had like class together, but they first really see each other on the beach, and there's that long walk and talk, which is after they first see each other, that thing's a oneer. And that's where she sets up, well, maybe I can play guitar for you tomorrow or something. And that date in the building with graffiti, what happened that whole day there, which happens on so many films, I'm sure we've all experienced, is that was intended to take place at a place called Albany Bulb in Richmond in the Bay Area. And that's where it used to be a landfill. And they've actually taken it's now a park, but from a lot of the old landfill, artists have taken a lot of that trash and created huge sculptures out of trash, huge. I'm talking like 30 feet high, wings like angels putting their arms out like this. And that's where we were going to shoot, those scenes. And of course, when we got there, we were way behind schedule for what we shot earlier in the day because we were just packing, so much stuff into that. So
right.
basically, the scene when they first do the walk and talk right on the water there, and the scene right after that when they're kind of at that graffiti building, nothing was working. We had to get a lot at once, which is why, thank God, after a few takes, we got basically the oneer. And then in the building, um, I figured out that really they were doing such a great job performance-wise, both of them, her with her singing, him with his reactions and the conversation they're having, that we just stayed on the Steadicam. So we had an absolutely brilliant Steadicam lady named Peggy Peralta, and we just put it on that Steadicam, and we just basically got all of our coverage with the camera or the cameras on the Steadicam, which is why it kind of has that floating feel. But
Yeah.
instead of trying to always stay completely steady, which a Steadicam is great at, and great operators are, we were fine with it kind of moving around and going with that kind of that fluidity and that kind of the music to that, not just the music she's playing, but the music of the movement. So that's why it was like that. But we were trying to turn lemons and lemonade, being so far behind. We didn't have time to get out to the Albany Bulb where all those statues were. We didn't have time to do all the coverage we wanted to when she was singing to him the next day, basically with that date. So that's what happened with that.
Wow, that's crazy.
Mm.
But like shit, life goes on, and you find a way, and you still made your movie, and it, you know what I mean. And if we didn't know that, it didn't matter because I was just highly praising how beautiful and great that scene is. But that's really cool, man. Like, but yeah, I just noticed that. And like you said, with the music and then also with the sound design of the water, that's why I think it helped, like, because the sounds there,
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, I was like, it almost feels like I'm moving with the waves and we're watching them, like, you know what I mean? It almost feels like I'm like in the water floating, watching these two fall in love over here.
Well, if any of us have been lucky enough to have like that perfect date, kind of it's a heightened sense of everything. not
Right.
just on the person that you're on there, but what's going on around you, or any. It doesn't have to be a date. It can be any great experience that you remember forever, with family, with friends, whatever. It's not just about what you're talking about or the experiences you're having with that person. It's kind of everything around you. At least that's what I remember. So we were trying to, accomplish that. But the interesting thing, because you guys were mentioning their relationship and her, and Doug, you were specifically talking about her, that actress Sarah Casasnovas. There's a little story behind that. So the original shoot of the film was about 14 days, which is absurd, as we all know. But when we assembled the cut, we watched it and we thought to ourselves, I don't know if anyone is going to believe this guy going up to the mountains and going through all this crazy stuff without knowing who she was. Because in the original script and the original cut, she was always intended by us, by Matthew and I, who co-wrote it, to kind of give that Dear John video letter, and we never see her again. And
Mm.
that's how we had it. And that just didn't fly. And that's our fault. That didn't fly. So what we did is we did 3 days of pickups a couple years later. And we cast Sarah Casanovas as a Genevieve and really fleshed out her character and really had them meet and fall in love and have arguments and all that in those flashbacks. And I think that was the best decision we made. And boy, did we luck into an incredible talent in Sarah. She was perfect as Genevieve. She was a wonderful collaborator. She's a filmmaker herself. She's from Spain. She's been breaking into America as well, but she's doing really well in Spain. Singer out there as well, which is why she was great singing that song. She worried about, the guitar might not be perfect or it might not be how she wants it. And I said, that's the point. I don't care if the guitar gets out of tune. I don't care if it sounds rough. That's exactly the point that I want for the two of you in this scene. And of course, she delivered that in spades. But that's a story of kind of fleshing out the Genevieve character a little more and Sarah coming on board later after we already had an assembly.
Wow.
Wow.
Now I love like those flashback scenes kind of evoked to me almost like I almost felt like elements of Eternal Sunshine or something like that. Were there certain films that inspired you when you were in the development process for this?
A little bit, and Matthew, who's not not talking right now, but he may say that because it's a film we both love. I mean, I saw that film because that came out when we were in school, didn't it, Doug?
Yeah, it
And,
literally
and
was,
that's
yeah, like our first month there.
that's right, and that movie hit me really hard. However, I haven't seen it really since then, other than a few scenes on YouTube. It's time to watch it again. But the interesting thing is, a few people have mentioned what you mentioned, Mike, and that's like the highest compliment because that film is just magnificent on every level: the happiness, the sadness, the heartbreak, the torture, um, all of that. But we weren't really thinking of it with that back then. There was a few films that inspired us. I know for me, for the two of them together, all of Linklater's, Before Sunrise, Before
Mm.
Sunset, all that stuff, of course, has been inspiration, at least for them, just being together for those perfect moments or days. But we were kind of just writing a story. We all take inspiration from everywhere, of course, but we were kind of writing a story that just felt right, the pieces to come together ourselves. And the story of it, and again, sure, there's inspiration we talked about, but this was one of the rare cases where we were going to do a much bigger film that had a bigger budget, that had some very known actors attached. It didn't work out and it fell through. And I can't remember how much of that I told you about, Doug, but we can go into it. But that didn't work. It fell through like a lot of them do. And we just said, let's come to a couple of ideas. Let's sit down together with a couple of ideas. Matthew actually came, I've said it before, Matthew came with the idea of the title and having kind of a spiritual retreat to kind of cleanse his soul after difficult times in life. I was really fascinated with the sensory overload of technology, where that's going, how that affects all of our lives, which I'm guilty of too all the time. And we realized those really fit really well together. Now, to talk about inspiration, we had that conversation on March 20th. We were shooting in July, which
Wow.
is insane. And I don't know if I'd ever do that again, but it worked for this. But again, when you're counting pennies, you just go for it, even if it takes years to finish the damn thing. So that's how, as far as like inspiration, I think we were so busy. Yeah, we were talking through the story and we'd throw out inspiration and we'd share things, but we were so busy trying to put together a crew of people that some experienced, some very green, counting our pennies, begging locations in the mountains and in the Bay Area to let us shoot, that we didn't really have time to go into that. So when I hear what it kind of reminds people of, that's really exciting. It's just a huge compliment, but I don't recall us ever talking about Eternal Sunshine. And the irony of that is, again, a lot of people have actually mentioned that when they're talking to me about the film.
It
And I'll
could
take
also
it,
be
man,
because
all day.
It's like it could also be because Matthew almost looks like Jim Carrey a little
Yeah.
bit as
And Joseph
well.
Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, nice combo.
Yeah.
Well, I love so many things there that I heard that I could spiderweb off so many. But yes, Eternal Sunshine is one of the greatest. I still can't believe that movie exists. And then also, all three of Linkletter's before films are
Mm.
Hmm.
just
Mhm.
immaculate. Great, great stuff. Linkletter is just so fucking cool. Um, but I'm glad you brought him up, and it's insane that we haven't really got there yet. But yes, your lead performance and your co-writer with you and producer Matthew Donaldson is phenomenal in this movie. Um, I mean, obviously it doesn't work without him. And I just like let's talk about like how do you know him? Where'd this all come from first? Like where do you and Matthew's like working relationship starts to even get to the point of no evidence of man?
Mm. Well, what a story I will tell. So we met, and it's kind of like, as a lot of things in relationships, whether in filmmaking or elsewhere, they're kind of intertwined with other people. Back in 2008, I think, I was directing a multimedia version of Dracula up in the foothills where I'm from, where you've been, Doug, up in El Dorado County. And it was a theater that I kind of grew up around, and they wanted to do a multimedia version of Dracula. They wanted to bring me on to direct all the film stuff and help produce the stage stuff. And then, of course, the other director would direct stage and help produce the film side. And we did that, and we were shooting it, and again, really overly ambitious for what we had, always, of course. And I think we had most of the cast, and we were missing two pretty important pieces. We weren't satisfied yet with who we found as Dracula. And then someone gave us a tip about an extraordinary actor that was doing great stuff in the Bay Area in Sacramento named David Campfield. David Campfield, who I'm still buddies with, played Dracula. And then I had a friend, Karen Yaris, who's one of the producers on my new film, I've Got You. But we've been friends. We've known each other for 25 years or so. She said, I got a buddy of mine that might be right. Nevertheless, I think you guys are really going to get along as people and be friends. Even if you don't think he's right for Dracula, he's an actor. And I just see you guys really connecting as human beings. I'm not even bullshitting you when I say the moment that we met, we were like brothers immediately. Now, we were younger, we were single. This is several years ago now. We went out and had some drinks and bonded.
Yeah.
My parents lived near that bar when I was visiting up in Placerville. He passed out on my parents' kitchen floor, drunk in the middle of the night. Much to the chagrin, my mother came down and said, "Who is this person on the floor?" She knew I was home, so it was okay. But really, ever since then, we've been collaborating. We've been best friends, and that was kind of the journey. We were doing all those things together, and then, like I said, we were together co-writing the script that was going to be done, that had the bigger budget and the bigger cast and all that. But that's how it started originally. We've done a bunch of things since then. But it started with Dracula in a small town in 2008/2009. And he was great in Dracula, by the way, as Jonathan Harker. But yeah, we've collaborated for a long time. And that's the interesting thing is I always, when people first started seeing it last year, or even the year before in Rougher Cuts, or even when you saw it a few years ago, Doug, it's funny because I'm talking about like a brother, like one of my best friends. But when I say I'm really proud of his performance, well, of course I would be. I'm the director and I'm one of his best friends and I'm like a brother. We're brothers to each other. But I really was appreciative and very proud of his nuanced performance. I think it's very layered and I'm extremely proud of it. Again, I'm not neutral, but I appreciate you saying that, Doug. So I feel the same way. It's
Yeah,
hard to carry a movie by yourself for a majority of it. There's not a lot
right.
of actors that have had to do that. We know Tom Hanks has. There's a few other classics out there where it's just one or two characters, but I mean that's a big ask to ask an actor to carry. Besides those flashbacks and a couple other scenes, most of a 94-minute movie by himself.
Yeah, man, and especially mostly the last half, even a little more. Like once he
Yeah.
just again, once he's unplugging, like that's what I also love is like we are so hyper in with all the technology, and then then when he starts kind of getting on the road, and it's kind of stripping away there, and then we're like at a bar, and then you meet another lonely person in the world who he ends up sleeping with, which is
Hmm.
a great scene, and then like their scene in the morning is awesome, man. Like that girl's
Yeah.
fantastic too. And he doesn't even give her his real name. Um,
Mm. Yeah. What a
but yeah,
jerk.
I know. But I do love like yeah, like as the movie goes, just how everything like just keeps stripping and stripping and stripping down to the basic bare bones. And again, it is the point of the film. But Yeah, him, just wonderful performance, incredible, and like, yeah, what, at least almost like 50 minutes just by himself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be because yeah, there's. I think I did a count before it was released. Actually, I did one like a year ago, but like I actually timed how much Genevieve is on screen with him because that's really only the other character. He meets the guy that runs the liquor store, which he recognizes. Of course,
Mhm.
he sees her, at the bar flies, I call her, Nicole Van, who's amazing in that role. But
Yeah.
in general, it's mostly like Genevieve. That's how you can count like how much time he's usually with people. Because some
Mhm.
of the other characters that you saw are on like the big video wall behind him or on like a FaceTime call on the phone, like the parents.
Right.
And Genevieve is in it about 18 minutes, about nine, a very effective 18 or 19 minutes, but that's how long she's in it. So yeah, you can assume that maybe for 20, maybe 30 minutes, he's got something going on around him. Though, in
Right.
fairness to Matthew, when Alana Ubach is on the screen behind him, he's talking to himself. When we shot it. And when
Yeah.
he's talking to his parents on the phone, he's talking with Claudia Wells from Back to the Future as the mom. He's talking to himself again. So, besides a couple characters here and there, and then Genevieve for 18, 19 minutes, he's by himself. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
What amazing dude. And oh, since you brought him up, that can, the liquor store clerk, what an asshole.
Yeah.
Like real nosy son of a bitch, you know?
Yeah. Well, he feigns concern, but just, make the money, man. Come on. Yeah, I'll give you a little like IMDb like trivia about that one too. It took so damn long to finish the film that because of inflation, I had the ADR how much that shit was that he was buying. That's how, because it came to like, we actually had the guy that owned the liquor store. How much would this all be? Oh, it'll be like $35 or. And this is several years ago now. And now I'm like, okay, I'm going to change it to 60 something. And now I think even that's too cheap. So
That's kind of true.
I think the film has aged well as far as what the story's about since we started this ridiculous journey, but that has not aged well, which is how we had to keep changing it a couple times in post production audio. $34, and everyone like looked at me like editors a couple years ago. I'm like, I'll have him send me some ADR from New York. And he did, 50, 65, 70, like maybe every few years when it gets a re-release somewhere or a different streamer, we'll just keep changing it.
Wow,
Yeah.
you are truly George Lucas right now.
Oh God.
No, that's cool. Yeah, I was like that liquor store guy really stuck out to me yesterday. I was like, man, I'd be so pissed if I was like, will you just leave me alone and give me my whiskey?
Really? Who cares if there's no one in here and it's 9 a.m.? Just give me my damn whiskey. Yeah.
Well, so how long did you guys like work on the script then? But let's start there before we get into like the shoot.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we got together in March, and I know the exact date because we actually recorded on a audio, note or whatever on my iPhone, and I still have it. So and it still has the date on it. So yeah, we got together at the Creamery, which was a cool little lunch place cafe in San Francisco, which is not there anymore either. That's
Yeah.
that's also how you know how long it took to make this film. Was all this stuff that's closed or gone since we made this, and I'll get into more of that as we go through the film. But that was on March 20th, and then yeah, I mean, we really hit it hard, the two of us, and we kind of split like the work. Like I want these scenes, and he'll say I want these scenes, and then we'll bring them together as people that co-write do. And then we kind of went through it to make sure everything flowed really well. But I think we were writing up until the last minute, changing things in till July when we shot. So a lot of us work years on a script, right? And in 4 months, well, we had something, but it's interesting that you asked that because I want to be clear about something. So we didn't have a full script intentionally. We had a scriptment. So we had the first third of the film was very specifically fully written, all dialogue, all direction, all that stuff. I was writing some of it, so was he. So we probably indulged the direction a little more because we were writing it and I was going to direct the film. So, some people say as little as possible. Doug, you and I will write whatever we want to get the point across, right? So, I'll be verbose if I want to. So that, and then intentionally, after the first third or maybe 40%, after that, it was more like an outline or, so we knew the story beats that we had to hit, kind of like Christopher Guest would do in all his kind of improv films.
Sure.
These are the characters, these are the stories we have to hit. And we went through that and we got all that. Now, as we were shooting though, in July in San Francisco, Oakland, and working our way up with the character to Placerville and El Dorado County, I got more and more nervous as I knew we were getting closer to like the outline stuff. Because when I was an actor, I loved improv. And I love it when the actors I'm directing improv. They're bringing their amazing skill, enhancing anything we've written.
Yeah.
However, I also knew like this is going to be hard when we're shooting in the elements and shooting on location in the summertime in the middle of nowhere. I think we'll shoot here to get this. I was really nervous because I knew once we got to that point, we were jumping into the deep end. And once we got to that point in the middle of nowhere, it was an extremely hard shoot. Once we got to that point, I remember famous last words. Paul will laugh at this now, but Paul Nardine, the DP we talked about, he looked at me once we got up to Placerville, which meant we had been shooting for about a week at that point. And he said, this is right before we were going to get really out in the middle of nowhere. And he said, boy, this has gone way better than I thought. And we should all know that you never say that. The film gods will hear you. And Paul is an extremely seasoned, brilliant, mature, wonderful, smart man. But I think he was just really happy, like, we're getting some great stuff. That's what he was saying. And I
Mhm.
had this thought in my head, like, yeah, but we're about to jump in the deep end. And then right when that happened, it was very difficult. But long way to answer your question, though, about 4 months or so, we were writing that scriptment. And then, a couple years after that, we did the 3 or 4 days with Genevieve in the Bay Area, the flashbacks. And that we worked on for a while because we had the time to really flesh out her character and to really have some magical stuff happen. And then, of course, when she was cast, she had amazing ideas too. And new moments or lines or magic would come in our Zoom rehearsals, which is always weird to do. But so yeah, but that's not a lot of time. But I think the fact that we did it in a scriptment way, ultimately, as hard as it was, benefited the film and allowed us to get that all on paper in just that short amount of time because only a third of it or so was fully like fleshed out.
Wow.
That's great, man.
Insanity.
Yeah, and I was gonna say it was like something like this, and especially like the back half of the movie, I was gonna say I bet there was kind of like just like an outline, and sure enough, um,
It
because
felt like an outline, huh?
well, I don't mean that in a bad
I
way.
don't know. I'm just kidding. Yeah, yeah. Well, you kind of have to when you're out in those places. This wasn't like here's a great angle that's away from like power lines and stuff. We literally went to somewhere where there was no evidence of man, legitimately. It was in El Dorado County. I knew the train. We were always like 20, 30, 40 minutes away from where I knew everything was. But, we had to get four-wheel drives and go down this mud, disgusting dirt trail down a canyon for about 40 minutes just to get to a lot of those locations that you see in the second half when he first gets down there, when he's by the river, when he has the fire ceremony, all that, when he's fishing, all that stuff was all down there. His base camp area was all down that canyon. So that
Wow.
that was rough.
I bet. So, I mean, well, I guess you kind of brought it up a little bit. So that shoot was all of that was rough then.
Yeah. Well, like I said, the first third was not, but I think such is life with indie filmmaking. And we all know that when you get into that type of situation, people are bringing their love for making films. And their desire to kind of get hopefully more great material like on their resumes and they put a lot of trust in you and we took them in the middle of nowhere and it was a hard shoot and I think at a certain point understandably that crew probably wanted to kill me at certain points when it was in the middle of summer, hot, higher elevation. But what we got was I think photography wise, as you mentioned, is really good. And anything that didn't quite work due to my deficiencies or whatever at the time as a filmmaker, we figured it out. And we figured it out in post too, which is not something you ever want to have to do. We always made that joke in film school, we'll fix it in post. That
Yeah.
pisses off everyone immediately. But there was just certain things, there were certain things that we were going to have to just wrap our arms around to figure out also in post, which is the case for every film, right? But but yeah, that was difficult terrain. People were exhausted. They were hot. Like you didn't exactly have restrooms in the bottom of a canyon in the middle of nowhere. So it was that type of film. And it was also my first feature. So I think if we did it now, well, one, I don't think I'd do it that way. But just say, for the sake of argument, I would. I think I'd be better with communicating, hey, man, this is the type of film it is. All right. So it's not going to always be fun. It won't always be, glamorous. And you might have to dig a hole and go to the bathroom or whatever, but that's the type of film it is. Yeah. So that's, but I probably would communicate that better with my experience now. But, but the thing about the flashbacks with Genevieve, when we shot those a couple years later, at that point, I was a much more confident filmmaker because of what I saw, what we did before.
Mhm.
And we were a little more controlled, sticking it in the Bay Area too. But I felt really confident for those few days we shot that a time later because we'd been through that. So that's the good thing. I do remember though, when the film ended, I just thought we didn't have it. And I've mentioned this to somebody before, but there's that, there's some great documentary footage of Scorsese, and his editing team, which is one great lady, as we know, and him pacing around the editing room saying, "I just don't have it. I don't have it." He's doing a Scorsese. He's having a little anxiety attack,
Yeah.
and they also emulated that in that wonderful. I think it was American Express commercial where he's
Yeah.
taking up pictures of his like nephew's birthday, and he's saying, "I just don't have it. This is not this. It's not, there's no happiness. There's no joy. Where's the shot? Where's the story?" And that's what I was feeling after we got all this stuff. And just because it was a hard shoot, mentally draining, we've all been there, physically draining. And I just thought I didn't have the story. And I remember Paul saying, "You have better stuff than you think. You just need to watch it." And it sat on the shelf for a couple months after we were done because I was just so exhausted, and so was everybody else. And then when our first baby was born, what else was I going to do after we try to put the baby down? As you know about that, Doug, once the baby finally actually goes down, what am I going to do? I don't go to bed at like 7 or 8 p.m. So I would just kind of start doing the assemblage. And I thought we do have some pretty good stuff. There's some big holes in the story. But that's what happened. I just thought, do I want to do this ever again? It was so hard, and I don't even have the story. Those were the first thoughts. And I think probably every filmmaker of whatever experience goes through that at certain points. I mean, Mike, you know that as well. So I mean, I think that's just part of the journey, right? But that was my first time feature wise dealing with that as a filmmaker. So yes, it was tough.
No, I mean, but yeah, of course it is. And the way this goes and stripping everything away and man in nature, like, yeah, it doesn't look like it was easy, but I mean, exactly with like what Paul said too, and what you noticed putting your assembly together, like, holy shit, look what we got.
Yeah.
So worth it.
It almost
And then
sounds like you had your Apocalypse Now right, right from the get-go. So now it's like everything else could be gravy.
Yeah, but thank God I didn't have a partner like filming everything for a documentary and seeing me like freak out, and crew wanted to kill me and have a mutiny and all that insanity. So of course, luckily she gave us an extraordinary documentary with The Heart of Darkness. But
oh
yeah,
my
so we
God.
didn't really have time or money for any behind the scenes footage, and I'm really glad and grateful for that. People ask for it, like in press kits and stuff. People ask for it, electronic press kits. I'm like, no, we don't really have that. We have a few pictures, and I'm like, I'm okay that we don't have much footage of us shooting. you know?
That's so funny. So
Yeah.
like that, so the initial was like 2 weeks, and then like pickups for 3 days, and
Hmm.
what, anything else, or was that?
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. I'm trying to think if it was like 14 or 15 days. I think the
Yeah.
final day, which might have made it 16, we didn't do 16, but it was 14 or 15 days. And then, yeah, we had 3 days of the pickups, which again, she's in the film, like I said, for almost 19, 20 minutes. That's not a lot of time to shoot all that material in just 3 days. So that was
No.
amazing. And then, little things here or there, and the little moment that I pop up in the film,
Yeah.
I just shot that where I live, and my wife helped me, and she put the camera up on a ladder, and she shot that. I just need security footage of a guy delivering groceries, little things like that that goes with post over the years, plural, the years. But yeah, those were the days, and I always say I'm never going to do that again. But the new film, I think we had like 18 or 19 days, so that was. I'm never doing that again either. We'll do 20s, 30s, 40s would be magnificent, but we'll get to that some other time. But yeah, so yeah, that's about what the shooting schedule was, broken up a little bit for those extra 3 days or so.
Wow. Well, that's great, man. And here we are now. I mean, I think it's great that you're being so candid too about how long it actually took, like some people shy away from that, and I don't think you should, because this isn't easy, man. It's not easy, and you got to care, and if you love it, you see it through. And that's another reason why I'm proud of you, because I've known about your journey of this movie, and then like even, possibly even getting some stuck in post a little bit. And
Hmm.
there's nothing worse than that. Like what you brought up, we'll fix it in post. We always hate that. And I am definitely someone, because we all learned that we all got to go through our own shit to fucking figure out, am I good at this or not?
Hmm.
And you are, and you figure it out, and you keep figuring out. But like, even at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Even all the greats, even like Paul Thomas Anderson now, you're an amateur every time. You just, because you don't know what's coming your way, and you just got to figure it out. It's always figuring it out, right? But anyway, especially in post. I am such a like I got to get it in camera as much and best as we can. Obviously, if there's graphics and everything, yes, there's going to be post, but I want, I want to try to capture everything. But I do, man. I just love that you're candid about it, and you've heard these stories from, whatever, like how long it took Lynch to do Eraserhead. Like I think that was like 7 years. No, but it's, and again, it's brave of you, and I'm proud of you for just being so open about this process of making this movie because I think it's good. I think, especially anybody starting out or anybody, or
Yeah.
anybody that's even in the middle of it that is doing well. Like it's nice to hear these things and understand that, we all go through the same shit as a filmmaker.
Well, I appreciate the kinds words, brother, coming from you. As I said, that means a lot. It really does. Yeah, I was in the middle of that journey because it's been, let's be real, it's been about 11 years since we started this journey. So it's a long, long, more than a decade. It's ridiculous.
That's
And it's
crazy.
not like Boyhood where it like benefits the film for waiting a few years. No, the characters don't age here. This takes place over like a matter of weeks, right? With flashbacks, maybe a few months, when you consider the timeline when they met, or a couple years when you consider when they met. But as far as his journey, that's just a few weeks.
Yeah.
But I was really in the middle of that post-production journey. I was really embarrassed about it because like this is just a film that'll everyone's going to see it as the film that never got finished. And I do remember Kim Dixon, who's a publicist we've worked with on other projects. She's a hell of a publicist, great with indies, great with big films. And she told me, "You're embarrassed right now, but this is going to be a great story. You shouldn't be afraid to tell when it gets there." And now that the film is done, and I'm really proud of it, she's right. She was right, but she was really one of the only few that's like, no, you, because we were all like, we won't talk about like took 11 years and we're just we shot it a couple years ago, indie film, and she's like, no, you should absolutely shine a spotlight on the 11 years. The journey is fascinating and great. It's not
Yeah.
only great trivia, but it's a great lesson to all of us and other people. So it's true. I appreciate that, but it took me a while to get to that point.
Oh, of course, man. And I had contemporaries and old friends that they would shit on you for, just, oh, why is it taking you so long and this and that. And like that doesn't help anybody. When
Mm-mm,
when
not at
people are
all.
like that, it doesn't fucking help at all. But whatever. Same thing, like I said, is you learn. And it's great to learn. And it's great to fail to learn, to be better. And I know I've definitely done that. I know what I want and like, and I'm not bad at getting it at this point. I'm very confident in what I'm doing, and as you are, and again, man, just congratulations. Here we are now. We're talking about your film. It's out. Like you can rent it, you can buy it on Amazon, and we can pre-order it. And I think that's awesome that you're getting a Blu-ray. I think it deserves it, and it's going to be in my Blu-ray collection over here.
Awesome.
So yeah,
I
I mean,
can't wait.
let's talk about now that we're here. Let's talk about the movie's out, like what's been going on, how, I know you had that screening. Like let's talk about all the good stuff now of after that long
Yeah.
grueling journey of
The
now
positives.
the
Yeah, good
movie's
point.
here, people are seeing it, and you're talking to people, you're doing shows. Give it to me.
Yeah. Yeah, we were very lucky to get distribution first of all with Scantina and Rosner Films. That happened, and this is just an important lesson to other filmmakers, if they're just starting out or whatever. The film was not in great shape when we first showed it to them, but they were a recommendation by somebody else. Hey, if you have a film like this, you should contact these guys. Now they looked at it and said, "We're not going to take it because it's not ready. You have a lot of work." But the relationship started. So like a couple years later, or 3 or 4 years later, when it was playing at the Golden State Film Festival, I said, "Hey, if you guys are in LA, we'd like to invite you to it. The film was done. We'd love to know what you think." And then they were in a place there where they were ready to see more. If it's okay, now it's done. They had to spend the time and the money. Let's take a look at it. And they tend to go more a little genre. Not that they don't do dramas, they do, but they usually tend to go a little more genre. But thank goodness they saw something that they really liked in the film, and they said, we'll take it. We'll sign a deal for it and distribute it and get it out there in the world. So that was some of the first great news. Where got a pat on the back of, wow, no matter what, somebody is going to see the film, whether it's 5 people or 5,000 or whatever, or
Mhm.
or more, or whatever. That's a really nice thing. And so we had it, like I mentioned earlier, at the Man's Chinese Theater. And then once we knew that we had a date where it was going to come out, which was a few months ago in April, we had a screening in Davis, California, at a great classic old theater called the Varsity Theater. It's not too far from UC Davis, so that's why it's called that. And that was really great because the point was to really launch the campaign and promotion for it being on Amazon, and
Mhm.
also fill the seats, get good energy, have people take pictures about it, and frankly, their ticket was to buy the damn film on Amazon and show their proof of purchase, to get in there. So really help pump up the numbers, because you got to get kind of clever when you want to pump up those Amazon orders and, the algorithm. So that
Sure.
was great too. And the really great thing about that is I got to sit there live, because like I said, at the Golden State Film Festival, man, Chinese theater, that was a really beautiful, wonderful opportunity. It wasn't a huge crowd, and that's okay. Nobody knew what this was. We had friends and family there and stuff, but we packed the house at the Varsity Theater, and to hear people's reaction in real time, sometimes very loudly, with a crowd of like a couple hundred people or whatever, was pretty cool. Matthew and I were both sitting in the back. His family there. I was blessed that my family saw it down in LA, and that was really like it's done, and it's now the audiences to take what they will from it. That meant a lot. And we didn't have a super long Q&A. I wish it was like an hour or two, but you have your 15, 20, 25 minutes, and the questions were just really well thought out, and some of them very emotional, which I didn't really expect. And
That's
that's,
good.
I
Yeah.
guess, yeah, it is. I guess that's, getting flowers too in a certain way. There's things that truly affected some of the men and the women in the audience. And I was really thrilled to see the perspective from women, and I still am, because they view it very differently than men do. This is
Yeah.
obviously a film from the perspective of men. The lead character is a man, as powerful and wonderful as Genevieve is. This is his story, his POV of him dealing with a breakup, which can be very traumatic considering the breakup in the couple. It hurts. It's a trauma. It hurts.
Right.
But it's from our perspective. So I was always very interested in the women's perspective, and they gave it, and I thought it was wonderful in that theater and afterwards at the after party. Just great conversation. And people that watch it seem to like it. I'm sure there are those that don't. There's some that will write a review on Amazon or IMDb that don't love it, and that's okay because it's subjective. I'm always fascinated by maybe the reviews or the comments that I didn't think of, or reasons maybe something didn't work for them. And it's well thought out and constructive. I love that. That's fascinating. Because, Doug, like friends and family would be like, man, really loved it, really proud of you, And that means a lot. But the person that could give two shits about you, they're going to tell you really what they think, especially if they're online and they're not talking to you. So actually, there's sometimes where I'll get like a middle of the road. I'll get like a middle of the road review on like Amazon or something. Though we try not to read too many of those. But the first few weeks we wanted to, we were excited, and I really actually appreciate those a lot. I'm like, oh wow, this person has no connection to us, and this is what they liked, and this is what they didn't. That's cool. So I really enjoy that, actually, good or bad, as long as it's constructive and not trolling or mean. I like all that. And yeah, just having it out in the movie and in the world, the movie out in the world. And like you mentioned, the Blu-ray a couple times, it's getting DVD and Blu-ray. And because a
Yeah.
lot of people still just rock DVDs.
Sure.
That was a big deal to me, actually. And you and I, of course, love physical media. I
Yeah.
get the sense Mike probably does too, just
Oh,
because of who he
oh
is and
yeah.
what he does.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
You should
So
see
even
my
without
face.
talking to you about that, yeah, I can't wait to see it. That's really cool. I just assumed that you would, the three of us would be. And my collection's in the other room, but it's very similar to like Doug's there. Doug has a hell of a collection, I'll tell you that. But that was a big deal to me. And I remember somebody, I won't say their name, it's nothing really bad, but I remember them saying, I think you're the only person that really cares about physical media. And I swear to God, the next day, the LA Times had the article a few months ago about how physical media and DVDs are having a resurgence like vinyl did 10 years ago.
Yep.
The next day, that article came out.
Mhm.
So I was really stoked about that. I'm like, see, of course, I put it right in their face. But that they, this distributor works with a company that make physical media, and they said, yeah, we'll absolutely give it a physical media release, and I'm really proud of that. I wish I had a ton of special features for it. There's a couple little fun things on there. Some of them are bare bones. Some of these releases these days, and these have a couple little fun things on it. Not much, but I'm just really proud of that. Absolutely. I love seeing the key art. Very proud of it. I just love seeing it out there. I love seeing people like talk about it and share it. Whether everyone likes it or not, that's up to them. So that's like a really good feeling. It gives me confidence as a person and as a filmmaker. And knowing that film had a release and was coming out when we shot I've Got You this last fall, that's just a good feeling. Like I'm standing on set and the next one's going to come in a few months. That meant a lot. Not everyone gets that opportunity, so I'm very grateful and humbled that I had it. But it just
Yeah.
that was like what was in my mind. Like whether people like it or they think it's awful, it doesn't matter. It's the audiences now. But what a neat feeling to have. So that made me feel good and confident. So it's just an interesting emotional journey from that, where it's a combination of like all those feelings coming up after an 11-year journey, and also having that thing where it's theirs now and you can kind of let go of it, and that's for any artist, musicians, painters, filmmakers like us. It's just you kind of let it go into the world and see what happens with it. And sometimes it won't be right away. Sometimes only a few people watch it and it might find its life in 5 years. It's that type of weird little movie. I don't know. I
Yeah.
always thought that, you need to, we need to find the REI crowd. And I also felt that the tempo and the tone of the film was also a little more European, in the fact that I don't mean that in a pretentious way. I mean like that the slower kind of plodding emotional film might connect a little more on the other side of the pond before here. So I'm really glad that we've signed that it's actually going to be going in a bunch of territories in a few months in Europe as well.
Oh,
So yeah, I don't think we've talked about that, but yeah, it'll be
no,
like
we
the
haven't.
UK, Ireland, um, the CIS countries. So like, all those areas out there. Will get it as well. Australia, New Zealand. So it'll be interesting to see if it gets any reaction out there, even if it's small, because it's a small little movie no one's heard of. But it'll be interesting to hear what people think,
That's
and that
cool,
feels good.
man. Yeah, I hope it does well. I think it probably will, because of what you said. It's funny you said that because I was, I rated it on Letterbox today, so there's a Letterbox review for your movie, and then but then I think I was
Thank
on,
you.
yeah, I think we were on, I was on IMDb, and I saw somebody mention slow cinema, and I thought, I mean, I
Hmm.
love slow cinema too, but I was just like, yeah, I get it, I guess so, and especially like when he's truly on his own in nature. But then I was also like, this is a pretty tight 90-minute movie, and
That
I think it moves, man. I think it
I
really
I
moves.
com- I completely agree with that. I thought it flew by when I hit play because
Hmm.
so whoever thinks slow cinema, I mean, I guess to each their own.
Wh-
But
What's their name? Can you look right now? Can you find what their username is? Yeah, I've actually though I've also seen people and read reviews where they said that they were complimenting kind of the take your time slower aspect of it. So
Sure.
you can take it two ways, but whoever that person is, you know what, man? All right, I don't know what to say. I
Oh
can't say
no, no.
anything.
Honestly, though, no, that was a positive review
Oh,
of
was it?
it.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
it was a positive slow
All
cinema
right, stand
review.
down, everybody.
That ice water is really hitting.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm telling you, man. Yeah.
but yeah, but even before we jump off to the new one, even when it just breaks down with him towards the end, then you get the dream, and the dream sequence is so good, and I love that you just use that wide ass angle. Please tell me about the glass on that, but then also tell me about your choices in editing, which I think was smart because it's a dream, and all of a sudden it's just kind of doing those jerks, and yeah, I really love that a lot, actually.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Well, a couple things. So, first of all, and I'm not going to speak for them at all, but I will say, like, one of the guys from Scantina and Rosner, they targeted that scene multiple times when talking to us. Like that scene, like, where did you shoot that? And that was just really hit me. And it's like, wow.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously, I wanted to know what they thought of the rest of it, but I couldn't complain because they were taking the movie, first of all, and second of all, they were complimenting this one scene, which is the scene that's on the poster. I mean, there it is. And now the poster is like art that kind of represents a bunch of different parts of the journey. So you're like looking out far down, like almost like river and stuff. Where that scene in question was, the Santa Cruz, the Pacific Ocean there in Santa Cruz. But and there's a million stories about that if we ever do a part two of this conversation. But 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 yeah, kind of the fit we used wides a lot in the film, especially once he got up to nature.
Of
We
course.
specifically made things feel a little bit colder, sometimes a little more claustrophobic. Not that we didn't do wides in the first third, we did, but a
Yeah.
lot of times we went a little closer and cold in the blue hues and stuff, grading wise and claustrophobia. But we obviously went very wide in a lot of parts of the nature stuff. And that one specifically, we kind of gave that. I'm blanking on the exact glass, but it was more of that fisheye kind of
Yeah,
look on
yeah,
purpose, where
for
it'll bend a
sure.
little bit there. And we were specific for that, and that was the type of thing in Santa Cruz. I was shot at Shark Fin Cove in Santa Cruz around the time they were having all those devastating fires, actually. But again, that's
Wow.
another story that we had to work over. We had to work around COVID. We had to work around the devastating Santa Cruz fires around the same time when we did those 3 days of pickups. And it was hard getting to that too. But it wasn't a 45-minute journey in vehicle, but it's hard to get that stuff down there to that spot. And of course, we had to keep an eye on the tides as well. Like, when can we actually go out on that flat rock where they are
Mhm.
to have all that dialogue? Because that's dangerous and you have to be careful. So
Yeah.
that as well. But yeah, I was really proud of that scene. It was always intended to, you mentioned Lynch earlier, it was intended to be more Lynchian. You got to be careful of that because, of course, we are not David Lynch, and only one person can do David Lynch, and he's no longer with us. But it was definitely inspired that it was going to be weird. There's almost going to be like images of like animals and stuff going by almost as like apparitions. It was going to be, everything was going to be strange. There was going to be thunder and lightning, but no clouds in the sky. You know what I mean? That like that kind of stuff. Maybe even more of like a pink or blood red sky. And then
Right.
as I watch it, how we shot it was already kind of strange and ethereal enough. I remember specifically where I kept like in my mind, like we're going to do all those weird things that I just mentioned. That at a certain point, I sat back and I thought it's so effective without any of that. That we had a couple weird things, like how she moves. It's almost like she's tech, because it's his dream and his perspective. But all the other stuff I just mentioned, we just kind of got rid of, and I got out of my own way and just let those actors in that scene and how it was shot kind of dictate it. Now, of course, color grading and sound design. There's some interesting things with that sound design. She kind of, like I said, she moves like the tech or like digital noise is there, that kind of stuff we put in, but we kind of really reined ourselves in on
Yeah.
purpose because I think it would have gotten too distracting and gotten away from the fact that there is, even in all that weirdness, a very emotional scene happening between the two of them. And that's the interesting thing is we talked about men and women having a different perspective of the story. Anytime, if there are tears shed in that film, it's been from women in the audience, and they've been very emotional in that scene. Not all of them, but there's been a few women specifically where I had to pull to the side and be like, what really affected you? And it was that scene. And then they told me a story about what was coming up from them. Like
Right.
kind of hearing him say that I wasn't healthy, so we weren't healthy. Like they really like connected with that. And it was always women. And so, as we know, as filmmakers or artists that have an emotional reaction is kind of does us proud the most, that it really
Yeah.
affected someone emotionally. But that was kind of like the genesis of that. We wanted to have that kind of weird goodbye because we couldn't bring her back because he was in the middle of nowhere. So instead of a flashback, we had him dream about it. And that's why we did it. And yeah, I was very happy with how that turned out. Again, just shooting in like half a day down there,
Wow.
ridiculous. Like that's a place that you wish you could have like a week to really like conjure amazing things up, right? And most
Yeah.
normal things would have a couple days or a few days.
But
But yeah, that's
but
how
you
we shot
got
that.
it though, man. But you got it. You
We
did
did
make
get
it.
it.
It is amazing, and you did make it amazing, and they made it amazing with their performance. And that's
Yes,
cool.
they did.
That's cool to hear that the women said that because right. A lot of them probably don't even get that talk, and then when they do, somebody like that actually went through that experience, and that's really awesome that your film brought that out of them. It's all about emotion, and you're very good. You've always been good at that. That's always been your core. I know you're a big Spielberg guy too. So there's
Yeah, are we going there right
Spielberg
now?
summer.
no, no, we did almost about as long as this yesterday on this
Yeah.
disclosure.
Yeah.
No, but no, you're great at the
Mhm.
emotion, clearly, because this film is all of that, which is exciting, because what's coming next? Like, I'll never forget. I knew this was like kind of getting finalized. No Evidence of Man was finally coming out, and then this motherfucker posts a deadline post like Joshua B. Porter's got a new film coming up, and I was like, what, dude? Like, hell yeah! Like,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you. I was very blessed, and again, just grateful that whatever talents I have, which is because of everybody around us, like Paul Nordine and Matthew and Sarah and all them. But the film worked enough that again, the two friends I mentioned, one of them that introduced me to Matthew, Karen, and her husband Kevin, Yaris, they had a script. I guess they've had for years, and they couldn't be at the festival in LA at the Chinese Theater. And said, "Can you send us a screener of No Evidence of Man?" Now they've been supporters and friends when we needed a little bit of money on Kickstarter or whatever. They've always been great friends and supporters of the film. But they said, "We can't get down there. Can you send it?" I'm like, "Oh man, okay. I wish you guys could come or I could show it to you in person, but just send it to us as soon as you can." So they did. And what I didn't realize is because they had a script that they had ready, almost that they've been trying to get made or thinking about getting made for a while. Karen's been in the business as an actress and a producer for a while. Kevin is a writer and a producer. And I didn't know that. So when we got on the call, I thought they just wanted to kind of give me their thoughts about No Evidence of Man. And they did. But then they also said, but we have this and we'd like to sit down and talk to you about it. It's like, holy smoke, that's what we all hope for. We're like, all
Yeah.
these friends of ours hopefully doing well, right? But it's like, man, I would love it if someone would, after all this work, would get another opportunity. You think we all think about that. And so we sat down at a cafe in Sacramento, and they pitched me the idea, and they said we'd like you to come up after watching No Evidence of Man, because this takes place also kind of in a small town in the mountains. Not somebody going out in the middle of nowhere by themselves, but it takes place in a small town in the hills. We think that you'd be the right guy for it, and that started an adventure that I did not expect. I mean, Karen and Kevin are exceptional producers, and we had great producers on No Evidence of Man, but we were all doing it ourselves. Matthew and I were producers on No Evidence of Man. Ryan and Masha were producers on No Evidence of Man, but we were all kind of just, again, pinching our pennies and kind of back to back, all of us, and trying to make it happen. Where, I felt like, I think Kevin said this best, but Kevin and Karen's job, they felt always was to kind of just plow the road in front of us and get us ready to start shooting. So I didn't always really have that before, because we were all doing the best we could as producers while wearing 50 other hats on No Evidence of Man. So even though I'm a producer and I've got you, I also could just really focus on prep and directing the picture, which is amazing. And then it got even bigger than we thought, because they had the foresight, which we didn't have on No Evidence of Man because we didn't have any money. They had the foresight to bring on a great casting director in Farrah West for I've Got You. She sent the script to Nick Sorello, who's on Outer Banks. He connected to it strongly. I won't speak for him, but he's told me this many times. He really felt strongly about the material, and he said, and Farrah agreed because Farrah had worked with Aaron too. Nick said, "I think I know who should play the big brother of this film," and it was Aaron Dominguez, who Nick had known for years. But they never worked together. They always joked when they all be at auditions together that it'd be funny if we ever were brothers together, because we kind of look alike and we have that chemistry as friends. And this was just the right thing for them and for us. And obviously we really looked at Nick, and we really looked at all of Aaron's amazing material, and he was just the right guy, and they were just magical together. And then we cast our leading lady. Madeline Popovich was in the Murdoch Murders on Hulu. And she was just, her chemistry with Aaron Dominguez was amazing. That's one interesting thing, is I had a couple of people tell me, because when we did chemistry reads, I wanted them to be in person in LA. Zoom is fine, and all, of course, the video submissions are very helpful to go through thousands, which again, Farrah was great for. We didn't have to go through thousands of submissions. She did, and then she sent us, the top whatever, and we whittled it down. But when it was going to be the chemistry read with the top 5, it had to be in person. And I had a couple of people tell me, I haven't done an in-person audition or chemistry read in 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
Because of like COVID, and now that COVID's not gone, but we're kind of through obviously the worst of it. But people are used to now just kind of Zoom and all that stuff, right? And it had to be in person. And in person is where Madeline Popovich just absolutely, her and Aaron's chemistry was just beautiful and magical. So I'm glad it was in person. That's how that happened there. So yeah, I mean, Kevin L. Johnson, Michael Aaron Milligan. We have an amazing cast that's in so much great stuff right now. So I was very blessed to get that and to have the support. And again, a very ambitious, tough shoot. It was almost a TV schedule shoot to get it all in 18 days. But we did it because we had some really experienced, wonderful people. I love this crew. Yeah, I'm gushing about the cast, of course, but I love this crew. And the crew, as you guys know, is always really the thing, right? Regardless of your experience as a director, whether you've done it a few times or you haven't, it's always the crew. And if you have any experience, it's the crew that'll really keep you not losing your mind, regardless of who you are. And the crew was magnificent. True professionals, just great people that I genuinely liked being around. And so we got into a place where I'm extremely proud of it. I don't know when it's going to come out yet. All I know is we're almost done with post, which is a huge. So to be done with post, when we shot in in October of last fall, and to be closing in, I'll just say, on finishing post, is very different than taking 11 years to get a damn movie out in the world. So, and that's again because of the great leadership of Karen and Kevin and all the people we have around us. We have just great people. The interesting thing is one of the editors, Danny Muniz, I first met him when he was getting out of USC. He came on to kind of help with a couple projects that Matthew and I were doing. I think he helped kind of organize footage from No Evidence of Man. He was fresh out of like film school at USC. We know what that's like. And he was just trying to get some experience. We didn't know what we were doing either, even though we'd been out of film school for a little while making No Evidence of Man. And now the now he's like this really experienced editor that's doing these big things on like Netflix and Hulu. And he rolls up to our first meeting about I've Got You, like, in his, nice car and his just, experienced attitude. I'm like, I can't believe that this guy is doing such great stuff. So Danny Muniz and Kyle Bond are exceptional editors. So yeah, I'm just really proud of the film. I'll tell you, No Evidence of Man has some heavy moments. I've Got You as a heavy mother. I mean, that's a family drama. There's romance in it too. Like, like I said, Aaron Dominguez and Madeline Popovich really give us a beautiful love story in that aspect of the film. But this is a heavy material about loss and grief and kind of finding a new family and rebuilding yourselves as well, which I guess are a couple of themes from No Evan Man as well. But so,
Mhm.
it's more of an ensemble piece with the two brothers and Madeline playing Maddie. So it's a little more ensemble, of course, than one guy in the forest. But
Well, that's
when you have actors like that, you're just very blessed. I think recently he said it a million times, but I saw an interview that's gone viral a few times with James Cameron, where he always talks about when you have great actors, you let them do their thing. I think
Mhm.
his famous quote is, "Don't step over a dollar to reach down for a dime." Let the actors, if they're going to bring some other lines too, do it. And I like to work that way anyway. Like when Nick and Aaron are on set, we have the script. I've done my damn shot list that took 2 months to do for this feature. But sometimes we start rehearsing and just magic happens and you have to go with it. You throw
Yeah.
some of those shot lists out the window or the preconceived notions we all have out the window and just run with it. And boy, Aaron and Nick, man, are masters of that. So I was really proud and grateful to work with them and have them bring their magic to the picture. So I think I sense hopefully you'll be seeing it by the end of the year, hopefully, but we'll see what happens.
That's super exciting, man. I can't wait to see a new Joshua B. Porter joint.
Yeah, don't forget the B, right? That was always a joke. Yeah, but it's called I've Got You, and hopefully you'll see it sometime soon. Yeah.
That's awesome. I've Got You's coming. No Evidence of Man is out now. Um, my buddy right here, Josh Porter, man.
Yeah, this
What
has been
what
such an inspirational talk. I mean, just hearing your journey and everything. So I just want to thank you and thank you, Doug, for having me on for
Well,
the
Mike, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. I've seen some of your stuff. You've talked to some, you've talked to great filmmakers. So I appreciate you saying that. And yeah, I continue to be interested in your perspective. So anything you want to share here or offline, I'm interested to get your thoughts.
Oh yeah.
But I'm appreciative of you just watching it just now. Remind anyone who buys or rents it to leave a review, whatever they think. I always tell people that's between you and Amazon. That has nothing to do with me. But for indie films, all of them, if they're on Amazon or whatever streamer, if people buy or rent it, the algorithm really moves when people review it. They could give it 1 star and say it's dog shit, and the review still really helps the algorithm. I hope they don't say that. But you get my point though. Like it's really like that's where the good stuff is. Just like on YouTube, like and subscribe and all that is really important
Yeah.
for your channel, Doug. And I hope people do. And everything you're doing as well, Mike. That's the stuff that really like moves the algorithm in this day and age. So please, if you buy it or rent it, thank you and review it and like and subscribe to this channel.
We
There's a free
appreciate.
advertisement for you.
Yeah. I'm gonna use it. I appreciate it. As you know, we're just getting going. I mean, we haven't even got we haven't even done the actual podcast piece yet. We're just doing videos and I'm throwing up clips and but yeah, it's great though because like look, man, I mean, get to talk to you, got to talk to my Peep and Todd buddies. Like this is awesome. Like I didn't expect to really do this, and all of a sudden I'm starting to do Q&As, and we got a David Wayne one coming up for Wet Hot, and I
Yep.
get to sit here and talk to my buddy who's made a great film and who's got another film coming out, and it's just like so cool that I didn't even expect any of this to happen. Now I get to sit here and talk movies like I do anyway. Like I'm literally
Yeah.
just like my life of like what I've had Letterbox for whatever now, how many years, and just like I write all my shit. I was like, so I've had this diary, and now I've added video and actually talking about it with other people, which is just like what I want anyway. And it's really cool to just kind of roll into this piece now. And again, man, I get to talk to my buddy right here, who I went to film school with, who's got a new movie coming out, and No Evidence of Man is on Amazon Prime right now. Pre-order that Blu-ray or DVD if you don't even have a Blu-ray player yet. And and obviously look out for I've Got You. My buddy right here, Josh Porter from Placerville. That's right, man. We went up to Placerville. We shot something really fun one time. Uh,
Yeah, yes, we did. Maybe
it's right.
someday the people will see it. It did get a little bit of cult status around our film school, if you remember.
It's right. Hopefully, we can bring that back around. Huck Roberts and Chain down there.
Yeah.
Um,
Was anything you can say about it without revealing too much? The type of
what?
film it was, or
Oh yeah, it was like it was like a mockumentary. It was the low level Spinal Tap. It was like getting the band, the garage band together just to get their first gig at the at a bar. Is like that.
Yeah, and there were like pink spandex and wigs to be
Yeah.
had everywhere.
Yeah, you wore
Um,
that. You wore that.
yeah,
There
yeah,
was a scene.
that,
There was a scene where we all did probably rub baby oil on each other.
not to get controversial, but we were really ahead of the game with that. That's all I'll say. And
Yeah.
everyone talks about baby oil now, not in the best light, by the way. But we were ahead of the game, damn it. And man, we really should have gotten a wide release for that because that was years ago, and we were ahead of the curve.
I love it. Oh man, thank you for coming on. Thank you for reminiscing. Man, just glad we met in 2004, buddy. Like, what a
Me
journey
too.
we've been on. What a journey you've been on. Um, Again, No Evidence of Man is out now. Rent it, buy it, pre-order it. Look for I've Got You coming out hopefully by the end of the year or whatever.
I
We'll
hope
keep you
so.
updated. He'll keep you updated too. Follow Josh Porter. Thank you for coming on, Getting Real Cleveland. Um, Rent the damn movie already. What are you
Yeah,
guys doing? Rent the damn movie.
rent or buy. Let me tell you. I mean, come on, show some class. It's a few bucks more. You buy the thing, you have it forever. And if you don't like it, then you're stuck with it. If you like it, you have it to watch anytime you want. But I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate your journey. I hope that you highlight that on the channel too, with all the great stuff you've done and the journey you've had the last few years, which is very interesting and inspiring as well. I know we can't keep talking. We got to cut it off eventually, but don't be modest. Your journey has been fantastic and inspiring as well. So I hope you continue to talk about it or talk about it more on this channel. So I appreciate you. And Mike, I'm really excited to see more of the stuff that you're doing because you got some great stuff going on. And I'm appreciative to talk to Mr. Cleveland Film and talk to the people of Cleveland. That's what I've been wanting to do.
Some point,
Yeah.
maybe we'll hope to have you here in Cleveland. So that
I
would
hope
be
so.
amazing.
I would love it, man. So to be able to see you guys and also like kind of chat out there and see what you got going on out there because it looks pretty exciting from all the things I've seen. Your festival that you got out there and all the filmmakers and the stuff that you've been doing.
Oh
It
yeah.
looks really cool. So I'm
And
appreciative to talk to you. I can't wait.
yeah, he's the man to talk to. It would be great. Yeah. Hopefully,
I've heard.
yeah, we can. Yeah, that's why he's Mr. Cleveland Film. Yeah,
That's right.
hopefully we can. Maybe we can get one of your productions here, and hopefully one day me and you finally do our thing together. So,
We
looking
will.
forward
I have
to
no
it.
doubt about that. I feel good about that.
Yeah,
Wonderful life stuff has gotten in the way in a couple of projects, but that's how it is sometimes. You got to find the right moment and hopefully not wait 11 years to finish it and release it. But you got to find the right moment to make the film, and we will soon. I know it. We got stuff coming, Doug and I.
that's right. All right, love it. Thank you guys. Thanks for coming on, Mr. Cleveland Film. Joshua B. Porter, writer, director, producer, and he's a performer. Don't let him tell you he's not. He's fucking really funny. He's really
That's right.
good.
I always said I wasn't. Like, will you act in this student film? No, I don't do that anymore. Doug
All
always
right.
got me.
Getting Real Cleveland. No Evidence of Man. Find it, buy it, rent it, pre-order that Blu-ray because I am, and look out for what's it called again? Shit, I just forgot. Blank.
I've got you.
I've got you. I am I am the greatest and most influential host you've ever seen. Getting Real Cleveland. Have a good day.